Hi there, my name is Dari, and I'm here to just talk to you about my practitioner-based research study that I conducted 2 years ago on my final year prac. Apologies if I sound a bit funny. I am recovering from a cold, so I may cough randomly now and then also. But yeah, so let's get started. So my research question at hand is, what impact does Kagan structuring have on a student's engagement and academic achievement in the business classroom? But firstly, we'll go through the outline of this presentation. So I'll start by stating the problem, the rationale, so why did I choose to conduct this study, any assumptions and limitations I found, what relevant literature says about cooperative learning, my action plan, so what I actually did to conduct the study, my findings, and any conclusions and recommendations that I have. So, statement of the problem. By using cooperative learning methods in the classroom, students will be better engaged in the business studies classroom compared to traditional classroom techniques. So when I say traditional classroom techniques, I'm meaning like students sitting in rows with their textbooks out, reading, answering questions that are related to it, maybe do some case studies, and also you'd have a teacher with like the PowerPoint up front. Teaching content through exposition, which doesn't like sound exciting for a subject like business studies. As a passionate business studies teacher, I would love to just excite my students about business, because it's quite a relevant topic actually. It covers a broad range of things, like you have like investing, e-commerce, finance, law, political involvement. It has stuff just for students to learn about independence, operations, marketing, finance, accounting, marketing management. There's so many things useful and just like transferable knowledge and skills through to adulthood. And if I could excite my students about it, they'd be more engaged and they would do better, and maybe they'd want to seek further study of business studies at university level or something. But yeah, that's a kind of a bit of my rationale too. So and I thought Kagan structures can be an effective strategy used by educators to make the classroom more engaging. And students will learn in a social environment, and they're not just expected to recall information, but rather create and share ideas. So it enables higher order thinking level skills as well. And let's just go through some assumptions and limitations. So the study was conducted at Darling Downs Christian School. So this is a K-12 Christian school in Toowoomba, quite small actually, so like 200-ish students across the board. And I wanted to do the study with the senior students, so when I got there I found out that, the school is so small, I can't possibly do it. And the seniors were doing a research assignment half the time, and they weren't learning a lot of content, so I couldn't do it with my seniors, but I did do it with two groups of students. Group A, which is year 7 and 8 students, there's 19 of them, and Group B, year 9 and 10 students, and there were only 7 of them, so I chose them to do like the traditional learning methods, because it'd be very hard to do cooperative learning with just 7 kids. Another reason why I wanted to do it was I was inspired in like my second prac. I did it at Kimberley College in Cardbrook, Brisbane, Queensland, and it was a total like cooperative learning school. So you'd have like 50 kids in the classroom. The lessons were 2 hours. It was very social. Everyone was just friends with each other and happy to work together. They had like little issues with bullying as well. It was a great social environment for the kids to learn, and there were like 3 teachers, and you acted more as a facilitator for the learning. And yeah, that was like another reason. Like, it was such a good school, I'd send my kids there, and I would just wanted to explore it more in more traditional schools. Another assumption was that it was assumed that students were learning a traditional method, and I would educate Group A about their expectation and how they're supposed to participate and have like really good attitudes and help one another in class throughout the project. So they were expected to be involved because they were still learning, and it was for them and also for the study. But apart from the odd sample size, which was a limitation and may create some sort of weird data value. But yeah, that was about it. Let's move on and talk about the relevant literature. So, cooperative learning is a teaching arrangement in which small heterogeneous groups of students work together to achieve a common goal, and students do this by supporting each other, assume responsibility for their own and each other's learning, and employ group skills, social skills, and evaluate the group's progress. So literature has shown that grouping methods allow students to not only improve academically, but improve their social skills, leadership skills, high-level thinking skills, increase participation, and higher self-esteem. And why wouldn't you want to do that? Like, when you graduate from high school, you're going to be working with all types of people, and if you don't like it, you're going to struggle. So why not, like, start students young to be able to work together in groups. And yeah, by working together, students can take advantage of each other's resources and skills to expand and combine their knowledge with their peers to achieve the best possible outcome they can, as opposed to completing the task individually. Gillies mentions that group work is overall more efficient, effective in productivity, quality, and quantity, which is great. The learning together model focuses on the importance of social interdependence. This is an element widely discussed in cooperative learning. It refers to when certain outcomes are achieved through an individual's actions combined with interactions with others. So Dr. Spencer Kagan, I've mentioned Kagan grouping and cooperative learning, and I kind of use those two words interchangeably, and you'll see it throughout my research paper as well. So he created Kagan structures. So these are instructional strategies crafted to stimulate communication and cooperation in a classroom that allow students to gain confidence and engagement in classroom interaction. So, these are non-harmful, confrontational ways for students to share their ideas in groups. Whereas if you single someone out in class through a traditional learning method and they may or may not have the right answer and they freak out, but if you discuss it in a group and you share and you kind of agree with one another, that's great. Just an example of some of the strategies that we'll use as a part of cooperative learning. I can just talk through them. We can have one was called First to 5. So you have your students in your groups of 4 and you're numbered off, and I love checking for understanding this way. So if I were to say a statement and people were to understand or not, or we'd learn something, I'd check for understanding by getting students, just all the students, to have their hand out and raise a finger. So it could be 5 for I know what's going on, I can teach someone, and 4 would be, I understand it, I get an A, and 3 would be, I need help with this, 2, I don't understand it, 1, I'm lost, I don't understand it at all, and all the students will, have their hand up with the number that corresponds to how they're feeling, and then I'd ask, to check for understanding, and they'd look around in the groups, and straight away you'd know the person that had the number 5, 5 fingers up will help the person that had, 1 finger up, and you can kind of, help each other like that. And straight away in class, the students would know to number themselves off 1 to 4, or however many students you have. And sometimes I change it up a bit and say, can all the 1s stand up and just rotate anti-clockwise twice, and we change up the groups. You do things like getting them quiz one another, so can 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4 form pairs, and quiz one and take turns quizzing each other as well. I do stuff after I teach something, I'd say, can all the 3s from each group stand up? And they'd share the idea. And obviously this is after they've done group work and they've spoken about it. So everyone would have an answer. No one would be put on the spot because they're all learning together. Yeah, and those are just some, other examples. But there's heaps of strategies that were created under cooperative learning. And yeah, overall research provided considerable amount of positive evidence supporting the effectiveness of cooperative learning and its role it had on students' engagement, motivation, well-being, social relations, and academic achievement. So yeah, all good things were found, and I wanted to do this. So let's go through my action plan. I've mentioned before the sample of 2 groups. It was a 6-week duration, and the data that was collected was through my personal observation weekly, fortnightly quizzes to track academic progress. So these are like quizzes that I created on the content that both Group A and B learned. So just 15 flat multiple choice questions to track their progress every fortnight, and I would collect all the results, and feedback forms for Group A concerning the cooperative learning experience. Now, I had a bunch of other things I wanted to do, which you might have saw in my initial proposal, but planning lessons and doing this at the same time was a bit hectic, so, had to be a bit of a realist and adjust, and that's what happened. So let's go through the findings. So you can see, this is what I found in my observations. I focused on 4 aspects for each group. So engagement, learning goals, participation, and social interaction, on what I found that they did, and I marked those things with an X, obviously. Another limitation I didn't really mention was, even though I'm teaching traditional method to Group B, it didn't mean that I planned a flat-out boring lesson. I still would try to make it exciting, but it did mean that I didn't always create the same learning environment that I did in Group A. So you'll see that sometimes they weren't super, Group B wasn't really participating that much, and you'll see some blanks fill up there. Group A did really well. Like the first week though, I think they were just struggling getting into the routine. It wasn't as much participation and interaction as I wanted, but as the weeks progressed, you can see that I've just marked them all, and I thought they did really well and got the hang of it, and I could physically see that they were enjoying it as well. So the next thing I found, so you'll see in this table the results, and this is just the average test scores of Group A and B, the orange line being Group A, the blue line being Group B, and you can see that Group A did much better than Group B, significantly, which is great. We'll move on to the next one. So this is a learning experience. So Group A's feedback form, and you can see that overall, I'll put myself here, the majority were listed neutral to very satisfied about the learning experience that took place, and they enjoyed learning in this strategy. And yeah, next one we have the delivery of teaching method. So I'd let them judge how I went about initiating cooperative learning. I mean, they probably didn't really have anything to compare to as well, so it was also overall a positive result. You can see that a lot of them were satisfied and very satisfied. A few people didn't like it, which is also expected. So 11% of students, 5 of which responded that they were not very satisfied. You can't get everything you want, which is fine. I know that cooperative learning makes the introverts a little bit uncomfortable, and I get that because I'm an introvert as well. So next one, we have the engagement level. So at 78%, so this is all the neutral to very satisfied added together. 78%, were engaged, and that's a great score. If they're more engaged, they're learning a bit more as well. The next one is continued use of Kagan structures. So this is whether they were happy to continue learning in this way, continue with cooperative learning as the teaching strategy for the future. And the results are positive, as 44% were happy to, 33% remained neutral, so you could swing that either way, and 23% of students strongly disagreed, which is okay too. And just to conclude the study, overall, the data indicated that students had better engagement levels, participated more in class, and met their learning goals, and completed their tasks on time with low levels of distractions. They obviously grew academically, which is great, and just some recommendations. So teachers should educate students by setting rules and expectations for any group activity in traditional classrooms, and you can kind of ease students into it. You would start slowly just by purely doing group work and get them used to doing group work. And yeah, they can adapt to cooperative learning really quickly. It'd be good if there was a whole school approach as well, just like Kimberley College, as you have that same consistent expectation and environment towards the students. Yeah, so overall, good experience for me. Thank you so much for listening, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed listening. Have a good day.